Hello and welcome to the Curated Beauty Podcast. I'm Jessica Christie, CEO of Beauty Culture Med Spa and the founder of the new functional and regenerative business, Cultured Wellness. From my start as a physician assistant to now not only being a practitioner but leading my own businesses, I've been on a unique journey through health, beauty, and entrepreneurship. Join us as we explore everything from skincare secrets to leadership lessons. Whether you're passionate about beauty or striving to balance life's challenges, this is your space to connect, learn, and shine. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Curated Beauty Podcast. I am your host, Jessica Christie, and today I really have been wanting to talk about this issue for a while, and finally I get to. I had been reading a lot of white papers or published papers scientifically based in the whole concept of the root causes of aging. And they've actually changed. You may or may not have heard of the whole concept of hallmarks of aging, but there used to be significantly less, and recently we've added several more. So I really wanted to make sure that I was bringing accurate, up-to-date information to all of you. But I just want to first start with talking about what does it mean to, first of all, look at those root causes of aging, and then how are we targeting our therapies to really biohack our biological age. And with that, I want to kind of address what aging is. So aging is essentially the progressive deterioration of a person's physiologic integrity. And obviously this is going to lead to diminished physical function. And that's a natural process, yes, but essentially it is one that ultimately results in death. And it's also really unique between each person. And there's been many, many different theories that have been developed and studied, and none of them have really been able to provide a comprehensive account for the whole aging process. To a greater or lesser extent, the aging process really has not been considered an adaptation or a phenomenon with a genetically determined course. There are so many different factors that govern our biologic clocks, and now we're starting to identify them, even in present time, and then looking at what cutting edge therapies we can use to really enhance longevity and vitality. So there's a lot of different advancements that are shedding light on cellular and molecular hallmarks that really are contributing to aging and offering new avenues for very targeted interventions. When I first heard about this whole concept of the hallmarks of aging, I think that it was either in like Dave Asprey's book, and there's a whole bunch of, he essentially coined the term biohacking, Dave Asprey, but there's a whole bunch of longevity experts that are talking about these. And when we look at what they were, we had 9 cellular and molecular hallmarks that contributed to aging. And those were genomic instability, telomere attrition. We're going to talk a little bit more about each of these, so don't feel lost or like, oh, this is over my head and I'm done. Epigenetic alterations, loss of proteostasis, deregulated nutrient sensing, mitochondrial dysfunction, cellular senescence, stem cell exhaustion, and altered intracellular communication. And then the next 5 hallmarks that I'm going to bring up are newer hallmarks of aging, which we're just missing from this pie or this wheel of longevity. So that would be compromised autophagy, microbiome disturbance, altered mechanical properties, splicing dysregulation, and inflammation, or you've probably heard it coined inflammaging. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about each of these. I promise not to go too in depth, but I wanted to start unlocking your mind to think about what are these hallmarks of aging, and then guess what? We are very in tune at Cultured Wellness with therapies to target each of these things. And if we don't have the therapy with us, we can refer you to somewhere that does, if that's your specific process and of not being able to optimize your health. So these hallmarks should be present throughout the normal aging process in some regard, and their experimental aggravation should accelerate the aging process. However, their observed enhancement slows the natural aging process, leading to a longer, healthier life expectancy. So that's why they've become so interesting to the quote unquote biohackers or longevity specialists. The diversity of aging mechanisms highlight the need for definitely a personalized approach to therapy. And I think sometimes conventional medicine misses the mark on that. By targeting specific hallmarks of aging, we can really start to look at treatments that address this unique aging trajectory for each individual. And this section is really going to explore all of those different things, from stem cell rejuvenation to senolytics to dietary interventions, and just overall, like something that you guys have heard about for years, lifestyle modifications. Even Western medicine's got onto that one. Okay, so starting with number 1, stem cell exhaustion. What does that mean? Okay, so stem cell exhaustion is a key driver of aging, and it leads to a diminished regenerative capacity. We talk about regenerative medicine a lot, and regenerative medicine essentially means that your body has all of the factors that it needs to heal itself. It does an amazing job at that, but sometimes things can get in the way and it needs some help. So advances in stem cell therapies really offer promising avenues for rejuvenating aged tissues, enhancing the body's natural repair mechanisms, and really restoring vitality. And there's a process in which tissue-resident stem cells lose their potential to replace those damaged cells over time. So it just shows that not only do we need more comprehensive evaluations for stem cell aging, but also an age-dependent setting for what that should look like. And really looking at the lineage of where those stem cells come from, looking at numerous stem cells, including muscle, hematopoietic, brain stem cells. Those are all known to decline with age. And so can we get really good at targeting and manipulating which stem cells need help in order to increase that longevity? The next in the wheel that we're going to talk about is senolytics. So the accumulation of senolytic cells or zombie cells contributes to the age-related diseases. And essentially, when we kind of first hear about senolytic cells, I think that that's becoming quite the buzzword, cellular senescence. And it's characterized by irreversible cell development that just kind of arrests. And aging, tissue repair, tumor suppressors, tumor promoters, those are some of the processes that have been linked to this phenomenon, which is propelled by, again, a lot of different factors. Very complex process, but this can occur due to various stressful events, and it is a hallmark of aging. And one of the effects of becoming older is that you do start to notice this. When you're growing, preventing cancer, wound healing, all of those things, you can appreciate the various needs of a cell function. But the buildup of these senescent cells or these zombie cells ultimately can trigger organs and certain tissues to amp up the aging process by the harmful things that these senescent cells actually can secrete because they're just sitting there. And so we have an opportunity to clear out senescent cells with certain nutraceuticals and peptide therapies and different detoxing types of supplements. All right, next on our list, we are going to go with altered intracellular communication. So the cells in our body possess an incredible number of signals every day. The cells are talking to each other all day long in many complex systems. And there's been a lot of scientists that have spent their entire careers trying to figure out the different ways that this goes on, the different channels. And in the event of these cells not being able to communicate effectively, the spread of illness happens. In reality, the great majority of diseases are really linked to breakdown of the different cellular communication issues. And alterations in the signals that go between cells are called altered intracellular communication. This can really contribute to the development of some diseases and disabilities that are characteristic of someone that is old age. disruptions in this communication are really significant because the tissues will continue to decline. And there's such an amazing opportunity for us to be able to intervene on this. So one of the most noticeable and significant changes in intracellular signaling due to aging is an increase in continuous inflammatory signaling. Anyone who has inflammation knows it. I mean, it's atherosclerosis, cancer, neurological ailments, diabetes. Those are just a few inflammatory conditions. And whether or not you have a true diagnosis, you know when you have inflammatory issues going on. You just haven't gotten that actual Western medicine diagnosis yet. And communication enhances these inflammatory signals. So this helps explain why scientists believe that elevated inflammatory signals is also a hallmark of aging. And again, there are ways to get your cells to communicate with each other better so that we can minimize this inflammatory process in the body. Next, we're going to talk about genomic instability. So this is where we're talking about actual genes, not the ones we wear, but the ones that are making up our genetic makeup and our DNA. So point mutations or deletions or insertions of different mutations, chromosomal rearrangements, and whole chromosome alterations are all examples of how the genomic instability that may cause irreversible change to the whole body's information center can cause things like aging, cancer, degenerative diseases. And this is a direct cause in cell cycle stress, which happens with many different processes that are stressful on our body. And this provides a lot of insight into cellular degeneration and functional decrease as we age. The telomeres in the genome is also of interest. So telomere attrition is number 4 that we're going to talk about. And these telomeres are the terminal genetic portions of the linear chromosome. I don't know if you guys have taken any like biology or microbiology or any sort of science class where you can remember what the chromosome looked like, where it's almost an X. And essentially those X's get chipped away at the very end. And the telomere DNA has a sequence, and slowly that is damaged. And when it's no longer able to repair itself anymore, that is called telomere attrition or telomere shortening. And it's really a crucial process in aging and age-related diseases. And so life extension medicine such as fasting or caloric restriction, exercise, there's been a lot of stuff that's come out. Like David Sinclair is a huge rapamycin, which is a drug that showed to extend the life of mice. Different hormone replacement therapies, those could reduce the frequency of these telomeres shortening. So if we can see the decrease in the telomeres shortening, which we do also see, by the way, when the senescent cells are cleared out. So a lot of these things do play together. We can see that buildup being cleared out can minimize the aging process, decrease chronic inflammation, decrease conditions like obesity and diabetes, and really support the mitochondrial function and programmed cellular death that actually helps us and gets those cells that are no longer working out of there. All right, number 5, epigenetic alterations. So changes in gene expression are known as epigenetic alterations. And this is, again, a natural part of the aging process. These little deviations interfere with normal cellular function, and this is increasing the risk of developing cancer and other age-related diseases. So alterations in the epigenome may affect the way that our genes express themselves, and this absolutely occurs as we age. And this really can wreak havoc on the immune system, for example, where it suppresses immune cells. So that results in a failure of the immune system to leave us really vulnerable to different disease processes and just an onslaught of viruses. So the rate at which epigenetic alterations occur may be slowed, again, by fasting intermittently, caloric restriction in general. Inflammation is slowed by this. And the inflammatory, metabolic, epigenetic triad is definitely a positive feedback loop that reinforces those already severe epigenetic alterations. So if you are decreasing inflammation, optimizing your metabolism, and that metabolic health, you're going to see definitely improvements in your epigenetics and less alterations that could lead to those changes and shifts. Among the epigenetic changes that occur with age, we see shifts in methylation pattern, which I hope to have a whole podcast on methylation. Methylation is essentially turning genes on and off and the expression of them. And if we are not methylating properly, we're not having the activity that we need with certain biochemical reactions that we need in the body, and we can leave ourselves open to things like chromosomal fragility and just that variation in our genes that really can wreak havoc on all of our transcription of our DNA and what makes us us. And then when we have more brittle chromosomes, again, that just opens us up to all of the things that we think of and associate with aging. Number 6 is loss of proteostasis. So to maintain the health of the proteome and in the cell and the organism as a whole, the cell employs a mechanism called protein homeostasis, and this is known as proteostasis. And the proteome proteins are normally protected by quality control mechanisms like protein production and degradation and chaperoning. And these processes become much less robust with age. And that is why protein intake becomes so important, and being able to implement things like essential amino acids and high protein diets and working that skeletal muscle, because aging compromises the cell control and the protein synthesis and then removal. And rising age is a very critical factor in proteinopathies. So more than 50 disorders characterized by just random protein deposits are linked to the breakdown in the protein quality, which is fundamental to our bodies. And proteostasis is a normal part of becoming older, since it's the body's first defense mechanism in response to stress. And because proteins are the building blocks for literally every cell and cellular repair and genomic maintenance, it's really important to make sure that that stays definitely of high importance. And it's a really easy thing that we can do with dietary and lifestyle modifications and certain, again, nutraceuticals, peptides, different supplements that we will recommend. And then number 7, deregulated nutrient sensing. So to survive, it's crucial that our bodies sense and respond to changes in our dietary uptake. It's a feedback loop. If you're giving your body something that it doesn't need any more of, it doesn't respond to those signals, and vice versa. So a person's cellular response to a given nutrition supply really declines with age due to physiological changes that occur over time. And this can lead to further dysregulation and just, again, that communication in the body. And it's such a critical metabolic process. And this is really what regulates our cells' response to ingested nutrients. So examples of receptors in these pathways include those that keep tabs on cellular energy production, the amount of amino acids and carbs. The faster we age, the more likely it is that the nutrients like amino acids or glucose have activated these nutrition detecting pathways. So again, if we can address how our body's responding to certain nutrients by probably cleaning out some of these other things and maximizing some of the other ways that our body works, we're going to be able to receive these nutrient signals much better and then use them in these critical metabolic processes. Number 8 is mitochondrial dysfunction, and we've heard a lot about this. I don't think that there's anyone who doesn't recognize what a mitochondria is, or at least has heard of the overall importance. Mitochondria are essentially, they play a crucial role in maintaining cellular homeostasis, meaning the cell is keeping it in that critical balance. And the metabolism and the interconversion of food substrates like lipids, proteins, carbs, all of this occurs because the energy generated through the mitochondrial process is oxidative phosphorylation. And what does that mean? It means that basically it's the powerhouse of the cell. And in both fed and fasted rates, the mitochondria is responsible for generating all of this energy and making things happen. And in reaction to an environmental stressful situation, they serve a crucial role in relaying information about how the cell is doing and the metabolic state. And then they are truly the ones that are then telling the nucleus and the other cells in the body what's going on and what it needs. Mitochondria in the cell can replicate independently, and they have their protein production machinery. They're literally little powerhouses. But if there's disruption in these pathways, which is very, very common with a lot of things that we encounter environmentally, and of course with the aging process, that environmental factors can accelerate, we're disrupting these pathways that are opening us up to sicknesses and premature aging. And we can fix it. Both fusion and fission occur all the time, and a healthy balance between these two is really essential for the cell. And there are now so many things that are coming out that are really starting to promote the mitochondrial health. Two that come to mind. We have methylene blue in our office that is so important for mitochondrial function. We have our Hackett device, which if you haven't heard about that, it is incredible. It incorporates 10 different biohacking things in one. We also have our NAD IVs, and we have some even at-home nutraceuticals for NAD. And then we even have some supplements that promote those pathways that are really focusing on mitochondrial function. So definitely need a consultation if you're experiencing some of those energy issues, or we suspect that mitochondria is one of the things that is in play. It probably is, and it's an easy thing to really implement and see great strides in change. Okay, so then we have next up compromised autophagy. So the cellular degradation process is known as autophagy or cellular death, and it involves transporting the cytoplasmic materials to the lysosomes to get rid of them. And this protects the cell from the damaging effects of stress and assists cells in maintaining their balance. And it's essentially programmed cellular death. So when a cell's done and we have new ones to take its place, get out of here. So multiple studies have shown a link between autophagy, again, that programmed cellular death and getting rid of it, and age-related neurodegeneration. A neuron, their post-mitotic nature makes it more susceptible to accumulate just dysfunction and the composition of a cell that's not working well. And so when added to the natural reduction in autophagy capable with age, it's showing that the failure lies at the heart of many neurodegenerative disorders. And it's really a sad contradiction that we aren't accurately programming cell death, so it's literally killing our brain. So we're building up these harmful protein aggregates and then contributing to many disorders. And while sometimes it's said that decreased autophagy is bad and increased autophagy is helpful, it's really the connection between autophagy and aging. You know, this may be a really simple view, but it's that balance that we need that depends on health, nutrition, and a lot of, again, circling back to cellular senescence. It's very, very key in all of the different topics that we talk about. Another one, this is one of the new ones, microbiome disturbance. This is such a buzzword. We had a podcast a couple back talking about microbiome, which is our gut health and the terrain and the role of detox. We have so many great detox products to really help this microbiome and so many different gut supplements that really effectively work. And so there's new understanding that the microbiome's function has made the possibility of discoveries of sequencing and different metagenomic methods that are really showing that there's a large connection between aging and microbiome health in both directions. If it's poor, you're aging at an accelerated clip. And if it's healthy, you are likely at a biologic age that is different than your chronologic age in a good way. So the human intestines have the largest surface area when it comes in contact with all these foreign antigens. And the gut microbiome is a community of bacteria, both good and bad, that line the intestinal tract. And it is very complex. The gut microbiota in a good health can maintain metabolic homeostasis, immunologic tolerance. Your gut is said to be 70% of your immune system. So this can either help you or really, really hurt you. So in contrast, if it's hurting you, we see age-related chronic diseases, we see obesity, we see cardiovascular disease, neurologic disease. It's been linked to a lot of different things that we really can work on quite easily. And I've experienced that myself, but it's one of the biggest things that take a hit when we've been unknowingly or knowingly abusing our bodies with things that we may not have even known were really harmful. All right, we're getting down to the last couple here. I want to talk about altered mechanical properties. So the process of bone healing is greatly aided by mechanical stimulation in addition to biologic signals. So aging is defined as the slow, cumulative, irreversible process by which mechanical structures lose some of the capacity to perform function. And cellular and tissue mechanics are very important to the health of living organisms. And when seen as biocomposite, the mechanical parameters of a single cell are determined by the independent combination of the mechanical properties of many different cellular components. And an accurate quantitative assessment of a cell's mechanical property requires knowledge about the cell's current state and the measuring method and the theoretical model used. And when we age, it increases our cell's stiffness and we go through deformations of our tissues. And this is really overwhelming to our cells. And the cell's capacity to reorganize cellular function really declines. We don't get that same muscular remodeling or bony remodeling and formation. And so aging cells are less effective at mechanical signal transduction. And this really is the fancy way to say that our body decays all of the tissues and the bones and the muscles. So obviously we have a lot of lifestyle factors that contribute to this, but of course we have nutraceuticals that support that. And now we're using other modalities like peptides to really balance our tissues better and give us a leg up as we do things like weight-bearing exercise to maximize, and again, that word biohack ourselves to more lean muscle, because skeletal muscle is the most important organ that we have in terms of longevity. And then we're going to talk about splicing dysregulation really briefly. Alterations in the expression or activity of the splicing factors are associated with human aging. And essentially, there's transcriptional activity of the host genes, and that RNA can accumulate through time. And so consequently, knocking down specific splicing components alters the splicing and can cause an increase in accumulation of circular RNA, which would cause the increased aging process. So again, it's that clean out, keeping everything functioning so that these genomes can do what they need to do. And lastly, we're going to talk about inflammation. So the immune system, which evolved in living things to increase their chances of survival, the immune system and inflammation is actually really critical and very important. It's just when we have chronic inflammation and our body just can't catch up because of all the harmful substances like our viruses that we're exposed to, toxins, allergies, our body's first line of defense is acute inflammation, but it should be short in duration and it should be very easily turned off once the body can catch up and regenerate itself. But when we have that long-term immune response, this is really something that can't just be resolved easily, and it remains. And it's, again, that snowball effect of can't turn it off, so it just keeps going. And the lack of this resolving really builds up these macrophages and lymphocytes and leukocytes and other cellular components that are characteristic of chronic inflammation. So this often mutates over prolonged periods of time, and it is very linked to cellular redox states and pathways that lead to cellular death. So if that continues to go on, of course, death and cellular death is going to make us age. So being able to turn that inflammation off and help the body be able to do so is critical to the anti-aging process and basically everything in the body. So that kind of concludes what we talk about in terms of the hallmarks of aging. It's complex, it's multifaceted, it has a lot of challenges, but also a lot of opportunities. And by targeting the root causes of aging with these customized therapies, we really stand on the brink of revolution in healthcare. And I will say that Western medicine has a long way to catch up on some of these things. It's like going way back to the drawing board. And I get it. They don't want to restructure all their programs and go back and be students themselves. The teachers have to become the students and then become the teachers to these modern day students. And so I'm here to do that. I'm here to transform our approach to aging and unlock the secrets to a longer, healthier life beyond just aesthetic medicine. Join me as we continue to explore these frontiers of aging and the potential for personalized therapies to really maximize longevity and vitality and help you to live longer, but also stronger. Thank you for tuning in today. Stay curious, stay inspired. Let's embrace the future of aging together. And that's a wrap on another enriching episode of the Curated Beauty Podcast. If today's conversations resonated with you, I urge you to share it with someone you believe could benefit from it. Let's spread the beauty, knowledge, and empowerment far and wide. For more in-depth resources, information about who we are, or if you're interested in becoming a patient or training directly with me or one of my team, visit our website at beautyculturespa.com. Don't forget to stay connected with us on Instagram for all the latest updates, behind the scenes, and beauty wisdom. Follow us at beautyculture.medspa and at Be Cultured Wellness. That's the letter B, Cultured Wellness. Thank you for being with us today. Keep curating your beauty both inside and out. Until next time.